Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then hi, my name is Miss Paris and I'm a newly qualified primary school teacher here in the UK. Today is a different style of video, one I've never done before, so I'm very excited but quite nervous. I'm interviewing the lovely Annabelle Jeffcoat. She is a teacher wellbeing coach and she really focuses on supporting teachers with their overwhelm and also helping them to achieve that work-life balance. So I'm really hoping that this will be valuable information for you, something that you can reflect on and something that you can kind of listen to and apply to your own life. So without further ado, let's get to the call. So hi Annabelle, I have just introduced you to YouTube and I just wanted to ask you some questions today about teaching, work-life balance and well-being. So yeah, if it's okay with you, I might just go into the first question.
Sounds perfect.
So my first question is, what would you recommend teachers look out for in terms of signs that they might be going towards burnout or that they're facing constant overwhelm? What can they look out for?
Great question. It can be really tricky. A lot of us wait until that moment where it's too late and you're kind of in that position where you're lacking sleep or you can't get to sleep or you find yourself very anxious and on edge or just that everything is too much. And someone passes you one thing and you just want to burst into tears because it's just got to that point. You're like, oh my gosh, total overwhelm. So it is really important to understand yourself and your body and what the signals are for you. So this is a technique that Mel Robbins came up with. She has inspired me as a coach, and part of what she talks about is understanding your body. I can't remember what book it is now off the top of my head, but she speaks about your body being like a car. Now, what happens is your body will give physical symptoms to you to let you know that something feels uncomfortable or you're starting to get to that point. So if you imagine a car and you turn the ignition to start it, someone that doesn't drive, by the way, so I'm probably going to get this wrong, but you turn the ignition, the engine starts to go, and then you hit the accelerator and then you start to move. Similar things happen to the body. So when we are starting to become overwhelmed, some people will feel it first in their stomach. So they might get nauseous. They might feel that their muscles are starting to tense. Some people, they start to find that their eyes will start to water when part of them is being triggered. So the first thing to really understand, and this is the just before you go. So this is how you stop yourself in the moment. If you are already kind of, it's been a few months of chaos this year, for example, it's been go, 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 go. Mm-hmm. Now, if we've got to that point where it's about to be too much, we have a center in the brain called the limbic system. And the limbic system is like an emotional response. So it's that moment where you scream at someone and you were like, why did I just do that?
Yeah.
Or you've just suddenly like burst into tears and you're like, what? And it's a protective mechanism of the brain, but most people just get to that point and it just goes. But what we want to do is stop that from actually triggering. So this is if you're already at that stage. And in a moment, I'll explain how you can prevent it from the word go, but it takes time to bring yourself back first. So if you want to stop that, the first thing is to notice your own body. So listen to it. So the method that we use at Your Style is called the balance method. And the first 3 steps are to breathe, get awareness, and then listen to your body. So if you're trying to stop it in the moment because you're starting to feel overwhelmed, then the first thing you want to do is take a breath. Just breathe in and breathe out.
Yeah.
4 to 6 seconds, and you'll start to feel your whole body calm back down. And that's to allow that limbic system to shut off, okay? Because we want the actual prefrontal cortex, the brain, decision center, to go, okay, how do I want to respond rather than react to this situation? Yeah. So if you've been on the go the whole of 2020, which I think every single teacher has, then I don't want to start at the point of saying, here's how you prevent it happening straight away, because you're probably at the stage now where you're running to the cupboard for a good cry, or you're awake at night thinking, oh my gosh, I've got so many things that I've got to get done and 0 time to do it in. How am I going to get it on my plate? So if you're in that state and situation right now, the biggest things you can do is breathe, get awareness of how your body feels, and start to learn when these sensations happen, listen to yourself. So kind of like how your personal body responds, because when you start to unravel it, you're going to be doing that response from the word go. So you'll start to feel it as things go from that kind of feeling of ease and general day, like happy, passionate about what you do, love what you do, wake up like bouncing out of bed and ready to go for the day.
Yeah.
When you're in that mode, obviously we've got that balance, but when we're starting to lose that balance, your body will give you signals, and the signals are often very similar. So what we want to pay attention to is, in terms of when things are starting to go off balance for you, I'll give myself as an example. I know that when I start to go off balance, I get defensive, or I start to get a bit like a teenager. Honestly, like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do this. Right. And I start to just become really like defiant in what I want to do. Even though I'm passionate, I absolutely love what I do. If I'm turning up to coach and I feel myself going, I really can't be bothered today, like, that's a sign to me to say that I haven't paid attention to myself. Either I haven't given myself me time, or there's a part of me that is resisting for a reason. So resistance is the biggest alarm system to tell you that something is not right. Either what you're doing is no longer serving you and you want something else, or you haven't been paying attention to your needs, and therefore it's starting to show up in different areas of your life, and things are starting to feel harder and harder. So if you've reached that stage, it's really important to grab your me time. For me, out of the 6 pillars of health, which is the framework we use, sleep is my pillar. So if sleep, recovery, or me time hasn't happened for me, so say, for example, my days off are Friday and Saturdays, and I've gone, oh, I'm going to do a bit of overtime on Friday, I can guarantee I'm being defensive by Friday afternoon, because I promised myself something and then I didn't give it to myself. I chose to work instead. And then the rest of that week, I'm like, like, about things that don't even matter. Like, but there's that teenager in me going, oh, it's not fair. Like, I was due my me time. I was due my time off. So if you're in that overwhelm right now and you're feeling like, wow, it's just heavy as anything, and you can sense your body, be aware in that what your body feels like. For me, it's feeling lethargic, heavy, defiant, lacking my passion, all those things. They're signs that you're drawing towards burnout, and it's really important to pay attention to yourself in that moment. If, however, things are good for you right now and you're thinking, okay, how do I prevent myself from going there? How can I be consistent with what I do and show up and be present for my class every day? It's really important to be consistent and listening to your body and how you respond when you haven't had a day off, or you found yourself putting other people first and not yourself. I had a client say to me in one of our programs, she just dropped back and she said, I've just had an aha moment. Like, I get it. Like, the penny just dropped. And I was like, okay, what penny's dropped? And she went, if I keep giving to everyone else, then no wonder I'm really annoyed at myself if I've got no energy left for me. Like, it just makes sense now. If I keep giving my energy out and I never actually refill, no wonder I get to that point where I'm like, I get home and I just hit the sofa or jump in the bath and I'm like, I can't move. Like, it's really important that you're consistent with looking after yourself. And it's not just, oh, okay, I have a 2-week holiday, or I'll wait to the 6-week summer holiday, or because even then, if you're adding extra work into your holidays, it's still not a break. So, we say, oh, I can't wait for the weekend, but I love all the posts on Instagram of teachers working across the weekend because it's like, can't wait for the weekend, I'll pick up my work tomorrow. So the weekend hasn't happened. And sometimes, we have to do a bit of extra work. That's life. Like, we have to find that harmony, but make sure you reward yourself if you do, so that part of you doesn't feel like you've not noticed. That was a long-winded answer for you.
No, but actually, I found that really interesting. And while you were talking, I was really thinking in regards to applying that to the children that we teach, because I know this is all about teacher wellbeing, but we seem to do so much more for the well-being of children naturally as teachers, that while you were talking and you were saying things like, you need to kind of breathe and be aware of your body. I thought if that was a child, most schools have kind of a calm corner set up. We would allow them that time. If they have done really good work and you can sense they're kind of moving around, sometimes they'll get reward time where they can just chill for a little bit or do something that they want to do before moving on. And then I thought, actually, when do we do that for ourselves? We know what the children need, even when they don't, or if they are maybe starting to get disruptive or disrupt their peers, we kind of know something needs to be adapted for them. They're kind of giving us a message through their behavior, but we don't do that with us. And when you mentioned not a symptom, but a physical sign for you is that you become maybe defiant or like a teenager. That happened to me the other day and I didn't even click on. I just thought, oh, maybe I was tired. And maybe the same day or the day after, actually, I ended up having, a big cry and I felt so much better afterwards, but I wasn't expecting either of those behaviors. And actually just you kind of dissecting that journey, every single step and things to look out for before that burnout. Actually, wow, we do it for the kids. We need to do it for ourselves. And I'm not seeing it, well, for me or other teachers, being applied to ourselves. So I actually think that was really interesting to just kind of see that journey, because we're doing that every single day, but just not for ourselves. I don't know why we are neglecting ourselves, because like you said, we can't, be the best teachers. We can't be the best educators for the children or teenagers or adults that we teach if we ourselves are burnt out. So actually, might have been long-winded, but I thought that was a brilliant answer, and I've actually learned loads from that. I just think, wow, that's such an epiphany kind of thing. So yeah, that's really interesting.
And I love what you said there as well, because when I'm coaching clients, like we often don't, I mean, some people watching this will say, I've heard of the ego before, and other people will be like, never heard of it. And I won't go into a huge in-depth on that. But as a coach, we don't just work on well-being the literal realm. We change the beliefs and values from a deeper level to help people to shift forward. And we have all had lives up to this day, and those kids that you're teaching now, they will have memories and they will have experiences that they will take with them for life. And that's one of the most rewarding things, I think, as for me as a coach, seeing it go to the next generation is like a passion that I have. When I coach teachers, I know that whatever I coach them, I'm going to well up now, because it's from my heart, right? So this is completely from my heart, and my vision and mission is to not just help this generation, but the next generation too. Because my teenage life I had anxiety, dissociative seizures, an eating disorder. So there was a lot of stuff going on for me during that time. And when I wake up every morning, what motivates me is that I don't want the next generation to have to go through that. Yeah. And it's really important to understand that defiant 16-year-old was a 16-year-old that had that eating disorder. So when we are, as humans, we need to be able to see and hear ourselves. As teachers, we're great at it, at seeing other people. We're great at hearing other people.
But not ourselves.
But it's understanding we all would have locked certain emotions into certain parts of our lives. And we all have certain parts of our identity. Like I have that 16-year-old that didn't feel she was seen and didn't feel she was heard and felt that she was alone. So when I'm in a position where I feel alone, she comes out. Yeah. And if I don't feel seen, she comes out. And it's not about saying, I've got this bad experience when I was younger and things like that. I am who I am today because I experienced that. And I help and serve thousands of people because I had that experience. But what I had to learn was how to help that 16-year-old today. It's not about going back. Certain things like counseling is very much about going back and saying, how do I look at that past situation and go back to it? As a coach, we're looking about how can we enhance and help you to become more confident and more focused and more able today to achieve anything you want to achieve, to set your boundaries and be confidently you and authentically you every single day. And it's really important to understand that we carry that with us. So, that 16-year-old is in me. And instead of being a needy 16-year-old that got defiant because she didn't get attention, I'm going, okay, so when I start to, another signal for me as an example is when I start to eat foods that don't serve me. A lot of people go, oh, you're a fitness and health professional, surely you're perfect all the time. No, like my signal to me is that if I'm going to the kitchen and I'm trying to eat things with gluten, I've been gluten-free for years, and I'm trying to pick up bread, which was a comfort when I was younger, I usually go, right, okay, I'm either going to allow my 16-year-old to have that, or I'm going to go and find out why she's kicking off, because she's looking for comfort in that food. So why is she looking for comfort, and how doesn't she feel seen? So it's really important to understand that with your well-being, there's nothing wrong with having a good cry or, you know, having that outburst, as long as you learn from that experience. When you're teaching and a kid, you know, does something, and then as a teacher you explain to them, do the same thing for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, when you had that moment, you remembered and you were going, oh, you know, I did that the other day, and then I just needed a good cry. That part of you just wanted to cry. Like, just needed to just have it, offload it, and go, do you know what? Let me have my moment, and let me have that moment to be calm and just have my emotion, and then I'll move on and I'll be okay. But what we tend to do is go, don't cry, keep going, keep moving, keep going forward. You have to do this, you have to be strong. And then what happens is it builds up and up and up until eventually it just, you burst out crying in front of a head teacher, or like you're in front of your class and you're like, I can't hold it anymore. And it's really important that we pay attention to that. Sometimes it's a 3 or 4 year old. I know people that have, you know, they're 10 inside and something happened to them when they were 10, they've held on to it. And it's like, how would you talk to a 10-year-old? That's how you need to look after yourself. How would I talk to a 16-year-old? You know, it's a lot easier for me when I'm comforting that 16-year-old to actually ask her, you know, what do you need? But you might speak differently to a 10-year-old. Or if you're kind of finding yourself in like an age of 3 or 4, just trust your intuition. If it's an age of 3 or 4, then you want to be going, okay, how do you want to play? Like, you might doodle instead of journaling, writing. You might start painting or drawing, or find out what it is that's holding you back. So yeah, it's, you know, perfect, exactly what you said. You know, it's about, you know, if you were teaching a child who was having that tantrum, because that's what it is, it's a tantrum, because part of you's not being seen or heard, how would you look after them? And then do it for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Linked to what you've been saying, you've already kind of given some different strategies on how we could talk to ourselves. So what would you say are the 3 most important steps to managing your energy through either lockdown, when we're restricted in movement, and what we can do for self-care, or maybe just in general life?
Amazing. So in terms of the 3 most important steps, it will depend on you as an individual, but these are the ones that I advise first of all as the most important. So one of the biggest things is sleep. So sleep, number 1 for me, is my pillar. So we have 6 pillars at Your Star. One of them is sleep, recovery, and me time. And you know, you wouldn't have a phone and then expect it to run perfectly for days on end or months, right? You would, every night you charge it and you refill the battery because it needs it. So when we're thinking about ourselves, we're all individual. We're going to need different amounts of breaks, but with sleep itself, there's so much that goes on during sleep. It's amazing. There's a book by Matthew Walker, if you're interested. It's fascinating. He studies sleep, and during sleep, you will learn and enhance your memory. So all of the information you take in the day comes into kind of the front part of the brain. And then during the night, it's going to go and file into your neocortex. So it's going to go into your kind of long-term memory and get through past that. Now, if you try and keep doing more and more and more stuff in a day and never really file it, that's when we start to forget things, because we're trying to, you know, trying it so much into a box, and eventually it's going to get full and you're like, well, I can't get any more in the box. So that's one of the really important things, is that it files things so you can be more focused the next day. But especially for women as well, is processing hormones, stress hormones, like getting the body back to harmony again, just getting things out of the body, going through, like finishing off a whole digestion cycle, allowing yourself to renew. So generally it's 7 to 9 hours sleep a night, and this is quality sleep. And it's not possible for everyone. And for those people that need to nap or catch up, you can't actually catch up on sleep. You can only kind of help yourself to get back into a routine. But with sleep, there is so much in terms of your body and mind that's replenishing at night. It's vital. Like, I remember years ago when I heard, I think it was Arnold Schwarzenegger talk about, have less sleep and do more. And I tried it. I turned into a crazy lady. Like, I brought my sleep down. I was waking up at stupid o'clock in the morning thinking, oh, I'm totally fine. And I was making mistakes left, right, and center. I was snapping at people. I couldn't focus. I felt terrible. And once I started to actually get 8 hours is like my boundary. I do not get less than 8 hours. In winter, I'll sleep for 9. And no matter what happens, no one disturbs my sleep. it's my personal boundary, because I cannot serve people if I am not in my best state. So for me, sleep and regular me time is really important. So that's one of the pillars I would say is vital. The other thing to be aware of is nutrition. So eating. So with nutrition, there are steps, and we have something called tweak of the week, because if you try to suddenly change, as I mentioned earlier, like, part of me reaches to bread for comfort.
Yeah.
And I have to address that. Now, if we suddenly took something away, I've worked with clients where certain foods meant love and had memories and attachment of love and family. Now, if I suddenly said, right, you can't eat that, that's like saying to them, you're not allowed to be loved. Right? Yeah. There's a story under the story. So when you're looking at food, the first thing I would say is try to really get rid of the processed foods where you can. Let go of the ones that are easy and just make a tweak a week. So get your sleep, eat well. And, if you're not sure, there's the Eat Well guide, the government the Eat Well plate that you can see online. I'm sure many teachers cover this. And again, it's probably one of those, we teach, but we don't necessarily do ourselves sometimes. So it's about looking after that part of you that has those attachments to certain foods. So sleep being one, nutrition and hydrate. It's really, really important to hydrate through the day, especially if you're on coffee number 6. Because I used to be a coffee addict. I absolutely loved coffee. I would go in and out of Costa like there's no tomorrow. And I just have black Americanos constantly, to a point. Wow. Eventually I literally could hit adrenal fatigue, because coffee will pump the adrenaline. Like, you're basically putting yourself on overload constantly to keep yourself going, until eventually coffee, you drink it and you're like, there's no difference. Yeah, you probably feel it. It takes 6 hours for caffeine to get out of the body. Now, I'm not saying to people just give up coffee, okay? It takes time. It took me about 3 years to let go of coffee completely, and it was one of the best things I did. It improved my sleep, my focus. It allowed my body to harmonize. And it's not to say you can't. Some people are fine with caffeine. For me, my nervous system didn't like it, probably because I drank too much of it before, and I built up an intolerance to it. But in future, I might be fine. Your body is constantly changing, and eventually I may say, okay, I'm good again. So I would say, if you want to really take care of yourself, 3 steps, which are a really good place to start, is get your sleep and your rest consistently. So have your boundaries in terms of your time. When is your day off? When do you finish work? And honor that, because if you don't, that teenager is going to kick off. Are you having lunch breaks? If not, how do you set that boundary? Can you put your phone to one side? I had a conversation with a teacher the other day. She said, do you know what? I told myself my boundaries, and then my phone was there, and I thought, I'll just do a little bit of extra work, right? It's a habit like anything else, and it's about allowing yourself to get out of those habits and know when is your time and when is work time. And there may be weeks where you have more than that, but reward yourself if you need to. Eat well, get rid of the processed foods if you can, just to help your body, and make sure you have regular meals, because your blood sugar is going up and down. That's not going to help. And then hydrate, because so many bodily functions, and your mind as well, needs water, especially if you are drinking caffeine, because it's a diuretic. that you are having, I know in Europe they do coffee with water. It's like you just always do it. Whereas in the UK, we just drink a lot of coffee. We just never really have the water. So, you know, if you are drinking coffee, fine, and you might be absolutely fine on it. There's no right or wrong, it's individual focus. But make sure that you are getting hydrated, because that's going to help your sleep as well.
Yeah, and it's funny because especially with sleep and caffeine, I find that they're very related. If people don't get enough sleep, they go, oh, it's okay, I'll just have a coffee and it will wake me up. But then they almost sometimes rely on that coffee because they're like, it's okay, if I don't get enough sleep, that will be there for me in the morning. But it's like, no, you don't want to rely on this backup plan. You need to try and get that sleep that you need. Just out of my interest, what are the other 3 pillars that you mentioned? Because there's 6 pillars, I think you said.
Great question. So 6 pillars of health and confidence is our framework, and the framework came from my journey. I became about 3-4 years ago, I became homeless. There was a situation where my ex-partner, he'd committed a crime, and I got a phone call, and overnight I'd gone from having a home, a house, a family, to £40,000 worth of debt and completely homeless. And I was like, wow. And it was just one phone call, a decision that happened that I was unaware of. And without going into that whole story, those 3 or 4 years I spent getting myself back on my feet and building my confidence again. So there was a massive trauma in my life, which it was just a pivot point for me. And then what happened was I had to heal my body from that trauma. And having studied health and wellness before that, I kind of knew where sort of to start. But what happened was the more I delved into it, the more I understood what we need to do holistically to get ourselves into a form of well-being. So the pillars themselves are sleep, recovery, and me time, which we just covered. That one is all about replenishing your energy and getting yourself back on track. The next one is nutrition. So focused nutrition personally for you that helps you to feel good and feel healthier in yourself, reduce any inflammation in the body and help the gut to balance itself back out. The next one we do is getting active whilst having fun. So enjoy what you do. Like I've had so many people say to me, they go, I can't go to the gym. I went, no one told you to go to the gym. Like that's not the only way you do exercise.
Yeah,
like,
no, of course not. Yeah.
Like, you know, how do you like to move? Are you someone that likes to dance? Do you like hiking? Do you like swimming? Like, what is it? And, you know, it's really interesting this year how many people have found different alternative ways, but also it's relative to how you feel. Like, you know, if you've had a really long week and you've had parents' evenings and everything else going on, I'm pretty sure you don't want to go, you know, some people do, it depends. Some people like to burn it off one way, some people like the other. But if you're absolutely exhausted, are you going to go for it and do a marathon or go for a 10K? You're not. You're going to go, do you know what? I'll go for a brisk walk. Like, that will do me fine. Like, it's absolutely fine. So the next one we've got is motivational mindset. It's how you perceive the world around you. So it's taking back your control. A lot of what clients that originally come to me can sometimes be in a position where, oh, it's not fair, this happened to me. And it's very external based. So, and I used to be like that. I was like, well, how could he do this to me? Like, why did he do this to me? And, you know, all these different things would come up. And then I realized that actually what he did was a gift, because it allowed me to learn so much more. And I could look at it as an opportunity to build myself and build my confidence. Or I could look at it in a position of, he took everything from me. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of see the power of control by letting it go external. I've completely let go of my control, and that's when overwhelm will kick in, by saying, okay, do you know what, I'm in this situation, but I'm going to choose this. Get you your control back. So motivational mindset. The next 2 actually came at the beginning of lockdown. So we originally had 4 with our clients, and then I hit lockdown. And there was 2 things that just for me were like, wow, I can't believe I never put these in before. Environment. Like your external environment is a reflection of your internal environment. So if you feel chaotic in your mind, have a look around. Is your place messy? Now, this is another one of my signals to myself. If I'm being very tidy, then I know that I'm on point and I'm feeling good. If I'm leaving dishes on the side, or I've not made my bed that morning, or this is another sign to say, okay, things are starting to get a bit chaotic for part of me, because I'm starting to put myself last again. So environment and liking your environment. You know, there's a lot of people that live in homes that they don't like, or surrounding themselves. It's also the people are part of your environment. So, you know, if you're surrounded by people that pull you down and don't necessarily push you up, then you either want to let go of those people, or you want to weigh that balance. Find people online and offline that allow you to feel good. You know, go through your face, take people off your Facebook. Like, do you know what I mean? If people are posting stuff that's just constantly negative, get rid of it. Like, make sure, you know, have 2 separate accounts. Have an account for teaching, and then have an account that's your personal account that you just relax with. Log out of the account that your teaching account is in, because that could be work for you. It depends how you frame it in your own boundaries. And the last one is energy. So as a Reiki practitioner, I went into energy this year. So I'm not currently distance trained, but I do one-to-one. But that's my next journey, is moving on to that. But I've been receiving Reiki and working on energy for a couple of years now. And then I decided, you know what, I feel like I want to learn and understand it a little bit deeper. And when I started to do that, I realized how important it was. And it's not just kind of, you know, some people go, well, that's a bit spiritual woo. Like, you know, that's a bit like, woo, out there. It's more a case of understanding, like, that's things like meditation as well. And energy as in how you feel. So yes, Reiki is kind of a form in which people design it. Energy can also be the energy of language that you use. It can be the energy of conversations, like how you transfer energy. There's a great exercise where you can transfer a pen to and from and see who holds the pen at the end of the day. So if you ever had a conversation and you end up with it and you go home feeling guilty and heavy, that's because you've held on to that energy. So if you've had a negative conversation and you've taken it away with you, happens a lot, you know, when you feel responsible for kids and then something's happened, and then you've taken that and you've taken the whole energy and experience with you. There's ways to navigate energy, and there's ways to navigate language so that you don't do that. So many people, especially teachers that I hear, they have situations where someone will send them a compliment and they'll go, yeah, I don't agree. Or they put up this like kind of wall. And part of energy is receiving that, like saying, thank you, I appreciate that. For me, I don't necessarily feel that way. And this is why. But we don't actually allow ourselves to receive it. We just keep pushing the positive away, and actually not actually getting and receiving that energy. So yeah, it's they're the 6 pillars. And what happens with the 6 pillars is they are a great way of navigating your own life. And I do different mini courses on this in terms of understanding your own 6 pillars, because what it means is, when you know, like I know that sleep, if I'm starting to get defensive, my sleep pillar's gone. And if my sleep pillar goes, my cravings go up. That's my nutrition pillar. It's going to start to come down. That part of me that wants comfort is going to start reaching for that gluten. If that nutrition comes down, I can't bother to exercise. I'm too tired. That's my activities dropped.
Yeah.
Do I want to spend time with people? No, I'm exhausted, right? So you can see they start to tumble down.
Yeah.
What it's really important is, when you know your pillar, like for other people, nutrition is their first pillar. Or if they've been alone too much and they need to be surrounded by people, that's their pillar. Like, we all have different pillars that drop us off. It could be that you've been beating yourself up with your language, and then part of you's been triggered and you've gone, enough's enough. And you kind of, that's your motivational mindset. So it's really about understanding which pillar for you is the easiest for you to get back on track. Because once you know that pillar, that's when, like for me, I know that if I start getting defensive, then I'll give myself a day off, or I'll take a few hours for me, and then I'm back on track and I'm at my 100% again. So, you know, once you know that pillar, the first time you do it, it might be a bit challenging because you're trying to get all of your 6 pillars back up again. Been there, done that. It's a journey, but you learn more about yourself. And then once you get it, you can achieve absolutely anything, because you've got yourself. Like, you know how to look after yourself.
But actually, you kind of answered my next question when you said you need to try and focus on one at a time, or the easiest pillar to try and bring back up, and sometimes the rest will kind of come with it. But is there any other are there any other tips that you would recommend to teachers to try and implement? Because obviously a lot of people watching this might say, but I'm too busy to go and exercise, or I don't have time to, cook a nutritious meal or something that's healthy. What can they do, even if it's just one thing that they can change, like that tweak that you said? What's one thing that they could implement, knowing they have maybe a busy schedule or a busy week ahead of them?
It's going to be personal to them. So this is the balance method, which I coach on. And this is why for me, I coach even though we do group coaching and we do one-to-one coaching, it's always very personal, because your life is your life and I don't have your life. The answers are within you. You have all of the answers, but you need to go with whatever feels easiest first. And sometimes we can say we are busy, and we are busy, but by doing that, is relative to what? Busy relative to what? Because my busy might not mean the same as your busy. Like, what does busy actually mean to you? And where are your boundaries? So if you're saying like, I'm busy all the time, then my first thing would be like, set your boundaries. Because if you don't have any boundaries, then you don't actually know if you're busy or not. Like, get a pen and paper, write out your week and what you do for a whole week, and then start getting rid of things. There's a task you can do where you number things 1 to 3. Like 1, love it, passionate, lights me up, absolutely amazing. 2, mess, all right, I'll do it if I have to. 3, hate it, like so much resistance. And you just go through your day and then start to ditch those things. If you can streamline it, automate it, delegate it, whatever it might be, start to find those things that you go, do you know what doesn't light me up? Like, it just doesn't. Because those are the things that are draining your energy. But you pick your pillar, and when you pick your pillar, it is exactly that tweak of the week. So the balance method is to breathe. So you take a breath first, because we can often go, yeah, but this is fact, I'm busy, there's no time, right? We've stopped ourselves straight away. Get curious. What if I could create time? Like, how much time do I truly have? Is it 0? Do I never have a break? Do I never go and sit and watch a TV program? Do I never actually read a book or have a bath or, things like that? Is it true, or is it a belief that we've created and we're just living out this belief, constantly being busy? And I did that, hands up, did the same thing. And that might trigger a few people, because it's kind of like, well, no, that makes it my responsibility. Because, yes, there's external things being thrown at you, but at the end of the day, it's you that makes that final choice. It's you that gets to take your control back and your power back and be more confident in yourself and become a leader for you and for others. So when it happens in terms of making that simple tweak, break it down into steps. So our slogan is 1 step at a time, because that's what I did when I literally hit, like, every single day I'd go, right, 1 step at a time. And whenever I feel overwhelm come up, when I get nauseous in my stomach and I can feel it like creeping up, I'm like, okay, cool. Overwhelm will always happen when we're in an uncomfortable position. It's a new feeling for us. So we get to go, okay, right, I'm starting to feel this overwhelm sensation. I know how my body feels. What is 1 step? I take a breath, I get awareness and listen to my body. What is 1 step that I can align? That's the next A. The next step, so the next thing, action that I want to take. Then you take that action and you cheer you so that you can then evolve. And that's what the balance is. Okay, that's how you find balance. So you go, okay, right, so for me, I want to pick nutrition, but I don't have time to cook a meal. Cool, could you just find a recipe? That's it. Just 5 minutes, find a recipe. Next step, could you get the ingredients in your next shop?
And then it's already kind of, you've done that step for your future self. If not, if you can't manage it for your present, at least for your future, when you're feeling overwhelmed, you've got it. That's good. Yeah. That makes sense when you say it like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it really is that part of you that's going, right, we all make agreements with ourselves. So when I was talking about earlier about the parts of us, it's about seeing and hearing the parts of you. So if you are, for example, going, right, cooking a meal, like, I have no idea how to cook. There's a part of you going, oh my gosh, how do I even start? Like, where do I start? And it could be, you go, right, okay, well, Can I, get a recipe together? Could I do the shopping? Like, just break it down into those steps. I mean, you probably do it with kids when they're like stuck on a maths equation, or they're stuck with their homework, and they're going, oh my God, and they're in that overwhelm moment. And you go, let's break it down for you. Let's start here. And that's all you need to do for yourself, is go, okay, that feels too much for part of me. So how do I break this down? Because before you know it, you'll be there. Like, when I got to look at my accounts and go, I'm debt free, like, I was literally like, I was sat there going, oh my gosh. And I remember phoning the person that was like a friend of mine that was with me through the whole thing. And I said, I'm buying that necklace for myself. And I did just that. There was a necklace. It was like a Pandora necklace, like £90. And it, wasn't extravagant or anything like that. But for me, I'd been literally saving everything to pay off this debt, to get myself back on my feet. And when I hit that moment that I could buy myself that necklace, I just wore it with pride. And I was so proud of myself for getting to that stage. But I didn't get there by suddenly going, okay, clear it. Like, I had to go through the steps one at a time until I got there. Same thing with nutrition, sleep, activity. You're going to have your own steps. Pick the pillar that's easiest for you first, and make sure you cheer yourself. Notice yourself for doing it. Same as I absolutely love when I go on Instagram and I see all these like stickers and I can't remember, not compliment cards, that's slightly different, but like all the kind of, well done and all these different things. And we do it for the kids. But when do you ever pat yourself on the back and go, well done, like, you did it and I'm proud of you?
Yeah, and actually that kind of reminded me, when you were talking about the motivational mindset, that kind of reminded me of something I studied a long time ago in psychology, the internal and external loci of control, I think it's called. Yeah, go my A-level memory. And it's funny because especially with women, we tend to attribute successes to external factors, and things that don't go wrong, we will blame ourselves for. And I think, like you just said, if we did something well, why do we need to say, oh no, it's because there wasn't much to do, I just did it quickly, or oh no, that was an easy test, I didn't revise that well, it was just okay. Why can't we congratulate ourselves or give us that pat on the back? We wouldn't say to a child, well, it was easy, you should have got 10 out of 10. We would never say that. But why do we always kind of attribute our successes or things that went well to other factors, and then the moment something goes wrong, it's all down to us, it's all our fault? So yeah, that, I don't know why, but we tend to do that a lot as teachers and as human beings in general. And yeah, you're totally right with that pillar. That's something that we control, how we view our successes, how we view our failures. When something goes right or wrong, how do we react to it, and what language do we use to ourselves? Yeah, it's definitely something to reflect on. And I think, people watching this, hopefully that's something that they can change, because it's something that even while we're thinking it or we're saying it, we can just reflect and think, okay, hang on, would I say that to a child, or would I say that to a friend or a family member if they were in the same position? So I think that in itself is something that we could all work on, because I think we're all culprit of that at some point or another. I think that's one of my favorite pillars, because exercise isn't completely my but yeah, that's definitely something I think is really important. I'd say my last question, just to kind of summarize everything, is if we are feeling this sense of overwhelm, and we're kind of reflecting on ourselves and our pillars, and we're still not sure what to do or what we can change, where can we go to for support? What can we do if we're not kind of able to see it within ourselves or our personal circumstances?
Yeah, of course. So the first thing to understand is that when you're in that moment and you feel like you need support, it's entirely up to you where you go. So you could go, for example, to a friend, another teacher. I know you have a fantastic movement that you're doing yourself, and I'm sure you'll put all the information after this for people to follow that. But it's, if you get to that point where you're like, do you know what, I really need professional support. I need someone that understands health, that can actually coach and support me. Then what I do, it's called the £99 Get Direction, and get yourself that clarity to ditch the overwhelm. We do a call. It's a bit like a strategy call where we jump on a call together. And what we do is we create the next steps and plans for that part of you. So if you reach that feeling of like, I'm completely stuck, like I don't know where to go, and you're thinking I need like professional support or a moment to get clarity with someone that is completely outside and able to give me another perspective to help me, then that's a good option to go for. For some people that are kind of like, you know what, I'm just a bit curious about the 6 pillars and I'd like to just learn more, but I don't necessarily feel like I need like that one-to-one experience right now. We have a few different options. So we do free guides that you can get. So you can follow us on Instagram, you can follow us on Facebook, and things like that as well. So we do these free guides that help teachers. So we've got one at the moment all about how to overwork teachers can begin to set their boundaries. But what we do as well is 5-day free challenges. So I will give you the information to those, and that's where you get a group accountability challenge. So our 5-day free challenge is all about discovering me time, that work-life balance, like how to set your boundaries without that guilt and kind of going like, how do I do this? What we do is you get 5 days of me giving you a mini exercise, and we call them me time assignments because we all love an assignment with a deadline, because we actually do it. So this is about getting the accountability to actually start to apply it. So in answer to your question, if you're just kind of looking to understand the pillars a little bit more, and you want to actually go down that route, then of course please do reach out, and I'll give you all the information that you can put below about this. But if you really feel stuck and you're like, right, I genuinely need to get this done and I need that one-to-one support, then of course you're more than welcome to drop me a message, and we can book a £99 call.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time. Personally, I've got loads of things that I can reflect on, and I know that, you know, once I go on Instagram and scroll down my feed, I'm going to be thinking of, are you doing this pillar? Are you doing that pillar? Yeah, thank you so much for your time. And like you said, send me the information. I will leave them all down below, and I will also speak a little bit about the movement, because I think that goes perfectly in line with so many of those pillars, and just being able to reach out to other people and kind of check in on yourself. So thank you very, very much for your time, and yes, exciting. I don't know how to end this.
Thank you.
Okay, so if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Thank you again to Annabelle. What an absolute star for sacrificing her time to be able to talk to us. All the details that she mentioned will be left below, as well as the social media movement that I'm running, which is perfectly in line with well-being and speaking out if you need support. So please go and check that out. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below for more teacher content, and YouTube has finally given me analytics of how many of you have pressed the bell, and there's not that many of you. So if you do want to be notified, please press the bell. If not, have an amazing day, and I will see you soon. Bye.